And peace out, dude. I mean, we could check out the Druid changes if you guys want. I don't really know. I don't really understand what these affinities are, though. So Moonfire, Quick Beam, burns an enemy for minor damage, additional strong damage over 18 seconds, usable in bear form. That's new for Moonkin. Sunfire, Quick Beam, Solar Light, minor nature damage, and then strong nature damage. Wow, I always thought Sunfire was fire damage. I actually always thought it was fire damage. Weird. Over 14 seconds to the primary target and all enemies within 5 yards. Okay, same thing. Lunar Strike, I think this is new. 2.5 second cast. Lunar Energy causing strong arcane damage to the target and minor arcane damage to all the enemies within 5 yards. Okay, so Astral Power. Let me just turn this off. Astral Power generates Astral Power. I'm not really sure what that does. Solar Wrath, I think that's new as well. Hurls a ball of solar energy, dealing moderate nature damage. So honestly, Lunar Strike just seems like Star. I guess it's not. I think it's Starfire, and this is just Wrath. Star Surge still here. Instant. Blizzard needs to learn, man. Casts that are instant are not good for the game. Not good for the game. So kind of disappointed to see this already. It cost Astral Power 45 yard range? That seems kind of weird, doesn't it? 45 yard range? Should be called Fire? I mean Sunfire. Sounds like a fire spell to me, but either way, 45. Okay. Dealing massive astral damage. So let's just read this. Instant, dealing massive damage. Those two should never be in the same sentence. There needs to be some. I disagree. There needs to be some instance. There should be some instance. And there's Sunfire. There is Moonfire. You know, Star Surge's instance right now, and it's fucking terrible. You have 3 charges of Star Surge. It's actually so bad. You know, Ice Nova, terrible. Instant Star Surge, terrible. Instant Mind Blast, terrible. Terrible. Also grants you Lunar Power and Solar Empowerment, which increase the damage of your next Lunar Strike or Solar Wrath by 30% respectively. So this seems like what's already in. Starfall, 60 Astral Power. Looks like still the AoE. Enemies in your Starfall take additional damage, fine. Increased damage done by your Starfall and Star Surge. Wow, that's the Mastery too, so it's going to do even more damage. It's literally our burst, costs 40% of a resource, it's fine. You can't justify something being overpowered by doing a retarded amount of instant burst damage just because it's expensive resource or it costs too much. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. You know, imagine something was a 6-minute cooldown, but it did 80% of your health. You know, it's fine. You can only do it once every 6 minutes. It's just going to kill you every single time. So, I mean, this just scares me. This scares me really bad. It's the same thing with Elemental Lava Burst. Like, all these instant casts are like why WoW is like just kind of spun out of control. When you die in Arena and your teammates are like, wow, there's nothing I could have done to help you there because everyone's in instant casts, you think to yourself like, oh man, you know, maybe instants aren't good for the game. I'm a strong believer of casted damage. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. So back onto the instant cast damage that we were just talking about. I guess it really depends on how often you can actually get those instant casts off. Like if it's once every like 20 seconds or something, I mean it's actually probably less about how often it does and how much damage it really does. You know, instant casts just scare me. It really just scares the shit out of me. Like look at Moonkins right now. Moonkins right now are really poorly designed in my opinion. Basically their one shot mechanic is just retarded, and their consistent damage isn't good. So just like having good consistent damage would be amazing, you know, even if it had to be casted. Like some instants are healthy, like you need some instants, but having like your best instant or your best nuke in an instant cast just seems really fucking shitty, dude. Moonkins are retarded right now. Well, the thing is, like, they're crazy with their cooldowns, and they're really shitty without their cooldowns, and like that's just not good design. That's like the Ret Pally design or something like that. Like, but they're trying to correct that in WoD anyway by making everything do like really strong, consistent damage. So, whatever. All right. So this is a example of a talent. Blessing of Loon, increased astral power generated by Solar Wrath and Lunar Strike by 50. or grants 3 astral power every 2 seconds. 2 different blessings. I can't really be too excited about the balance changes because I don't really understand the class well enough. What about Mage Burst? I mean, I think Ice Nova was really, really bad for the game too. Solar Lunar was such a fun, unique mechanic. I think they thought it was really bad because they just said you were just like staring at a bar or something the whole time. It still seems like you're going to have something like that, Ven. Like astral power, generates astral power. And, grants you lunar or solar empowerment. So it still feels like you're going to have that same thing, right? Or maybe I'm wrong. You know, it feels like it's still going to be kind of the same thing. But maybe I'm wrong. Alright, so I actually want to skip over Feral for now and I want to read Resto. So Mastery, your healing is increased by 10% for each of your restoration heal over time effects on the target. Holy shit, that seems absolutely fucking insane. So the more HOTS you have on a target, the more healing you do. Your healing is increased by 10% for each of your restoration healing over time effects on the target. So I guess it's for that target only, right? So like, if you have 1 Rejuve, you do 10% more healing on that target. If you have 2, like a Germination, you do 20%. If you have the Life Bloom. So Wild Growth is already getting some extra value just because it's gonna increase your healing. So normally in situations where you wouldn't Wild Growth expansion, you might actually use Wild Growth just to get that extra hot up for the extra healing. Healing Touch 2.5, healing a target for a friendly amount, pretty standard. 1.5 heals a friendly target for another minor amount over 12 seconds. 60% increased crit chance, standard Rejuve. This is what always bothers me about Rejuve. Like shit like this is just it's such a good spell and it's so mana efficient. 1.9% mana. I think that's actually the cheapest healing spell we've seen in the game. Oh, excuse me. 1.6%. Like Druid healing spells I feel like are just completely undertuned in terms of mana. Like they're just way too cheap in my opinion. Life Bloom. Like look at all these instant 2%, 2%, 2%. Just I don't know. You want to nerf Resto Druids? Nerf how much their heals cost. I wonder how much like Resto Shamans look at and stuff. The thing is like all their instants are super cheap and they hardly have to cast their casted. Looking good. Alright, so let's get back to Resto Druid. So we were talking about the efficiency of the spells. Alright, now just for example, let's go check out the efficiency of the Resto Shaman spells. Let's just take a screenshot here. Let's take a screenshot of all their spells. Alright? And let's just compare them to other healers. Just for argument's sake here. So let's just go to Mistweaver Monks. Fuse is an instant. That's about on par for the other ones. Enveloping Mist, 6% mana. Okay? This is their hard cast, like top someone mechanic. It's 6% mana. You guys wonder why Monks, Zoom, and Resto Druids don't? Look at numbers like this. This is literally like almost double what it costs for regrowth. You know, it's almost it's 3 Rejuves from a Resto Druid. You know, shit like that. Renewing Mist is more mana than Rejuve. It's more mana than Life Bloom. You know? Essence Font, like 8% mana. You know? Vivify, all these abilities are so much more mana than Resto Druids. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to target Resto Druids, but Resto Druids' efficiency seems to be a big problem. Alright, so let's take a look at other healers. Let's just compare, because it's actually really hard for me to know for sure. So we'll compare to Resto Shamans. Healing Wave is cheaper than... it's actually a little more mana than Healing Touch. That's a comparison. Healing Surge is more mana than Regrowth. Rejuve, where's Riptide at? Riptide's actually cheaper than everything that Druid has, and I actually suspected that. Healing Stream's pretty cheap too. So this actually looks like another problem. Resto Shaman's heals look really fucking efficient. Healing Stream's super efficient. Riptide is unbelievably efficient. Healing Surge is somewhat expensive, but not expensive enough to make it matter. So right now, like Mistweaver Monks look like they're really on the back end. I think Resto Shamans are more expensive than Druids, but Resto Shamans are actually pretty fucking cheap too. So if we look at Disc Priest and Holy Priest, and we see that they're really expensive, I think we're kind of just finding out that, you know, they're actually just tuned incorrectly. So Holy Pally, 2%, it's the same as Healing Touch. Flashlight is a little more than the Regrowth. Light of the Martyr, I don't really know what this compares to, but it's a little bit more expensive. Light of Dawn, not really that important. Holy Shock, also incredibly cheap, so Holy Paladin seems to be on par. So right now what we've seen is Resto Druid, Resto Shaman, and Holy Paladin are all on par for the same mana efficiency. And what we've seen is Mistweaver monks are kind of falling behind. So we'll take a look at priests and see if this follows the same pattern as this expansion, where monks and priests really easily, and what's it called, don't. So tough to say. This is for holy, so this is kind of new. The heal is the same as Healing Touch. Flash heal is actually cheaper than Regrowth, believe it or not. Holy Word Serenity is 4% mana, which is not bad at all. Prayer Mending is pretty cheap. Holy Word Sanctity is actually really cheap, considering it's going to be a big AoE heal. Renew is a little more than Reju, but not too bad. So it actually looks like priests are kind of going to be on par with mana in terms of efficiency. Right now it actually looks like Mistweavers are doing the worst on mana. Plea is pretty cheap. Shadow Mend is pretty cheap. Power Word Shield is reasonably cheap. Wow. I actually must say, all the healers actually feel like they're kind of tuned properly then, besides Mistweaver Monks. I think Mistweaver Monks might be overtuned on mana, but maybe Mana T will be better next expansion. So we can go back up over the Resto Druid talents. We saw Wild Growth, 1.5, 10-second cooldown. Same thing as standard. 30-second cooldown on Swiftman. That's kind of new, but you guys, it might be a 30-second cooldown on Swiftman, but there might be talents or glyphs or something that reduces the cooldown. Living Seed, standard. It looks like. Omen of Clarity, pretty standard. Flourish, 1 minute cooldown. Extend the duration of all your heal over time effects on friendly targets within 60 yards by 10 seconds. See, abilities like this I think are completely fine. Like, I have no problem with an ability like this. I think that's actually pretty cool. You know, you get a ton of hots up and you save mana by pressing Flourish, you know, instead of re-hotting. It's pretty cool.